Thank you. Yeah, so welcome everyone. This is the enablement cross-functional prioritization review for release 15.3. And we have done our homework prior to this meeting. So let's go to the questions to answer and go through each list, see if there are any questions. The first question are dashboards accurate? If not, what needs to be done to correct them? Number 1A is for current milestones, please clean up issues to be defined with appropriate type. So my comments, I have a few comments. First of all, I want to highlight that distribution teams are excluded from this exercise for this release because they are focusing on the final stretch of FIPS. So I told them they don't need to do this. So make sure, please understand, distribution data I already singled out from the spreadsheet. And also,
curious, Jen, is this due to the time it would take to do the exercise or other reasons?
FIPS, the FIPS project
and the work, the short due dates and the amount of work it is to do FIPS, is that why?
They need this week to finish the FIPS.
Got it. I understand. Thank you.
Hey, John, you said you started a spreadsheet. Is the link to the spreadsheet in the document?
Here, the spreadsheet is in the chat window.
Oh, thank you.
That's what Wayne prepared. So I just added a tab.
Okay.
And that was to make sure the data was accurate enough to do the review. Eric's recommendation was, which I think is wise, is that the single source of truth, the issues themselves, should be, the count of those should be within 5% of what the dashboard shows, or the reviews weren't worth doing until we get the data correct. So is enablement, are the dashboard, do the dashboards have within 5% of the same number of issues for enablement as the single source of truth, the issues themselves?
Here, 4%.
4%. Great. I know there were lots of reasons why some groups, including some of mine, were not when we tried to do the initial review. So that's good.
It might help share my screen. So I will move on to screen. So screen share, we are on the same page. So this is the dashboard. This is the spreadsheet data from the issue tracker. And also this column C is the data from the dashboard. This is a calculated variance. This total includes distribution. This line of total excludes distribution. So both are 4% variance. And also,
thanks for double checking. We don't want to analyze trends or make decisions based on inaccurate trends in the dashboard. So thank you.
And also for the discussion of the distribution of the types of work, please look at the charts here because the site sense is not up to date. Okay, so distribution is excluded, and for all the 15.3 issues, every issue was labeled with the type label, except the one. This one is a planning issue. So there was a discussion in the Slack how to process the planning issues. And my next bullet is a few things I want to that led to the inaccurate data or a high percentage of undefined. So the things I listed here. When you, sorry, you messed up my order. You want to verbalize this?
Oh, sure. Yeah, just to clarify, when we said the dashboards were inaccurate, everything is like the dashboards don't represent the issues. Undefined is also really important, but we wanted to make sure that, so in terms of accuracy, we're looking at, are the dashboards accurate, not how many issues are undefined, but still really good analysis here. Just a clarification.
Yeah, the accuracy is because of the data refresh delay. That's all. So it's not up to date. The spreadsheet is up to date data. And of course, the discussion about the planning issues is happening in Slack. So the question is whether we want to add a type planning for these issues. So no conclusions. So we can continue the discussion in the Slack, or do we want to discuss that here?
Yeah,
think that-
this came up in the working group more than once, and we discussed and decided that we're not going to add new types, but instead do a best effort on maintenance bugs or feature.
Okay. Yeah, would you mind to reply in that thread in the Slack, so everybody would be on the same page?
Will do.
Thank you, Wei. Yeah, distribution was not there, and also data size sense delay. So that's the major source of the discrepancies. And then Josh, you want to comment, verbalize your comment?
Yeah, I look at these every week, and I think the search I use has significantly missed significantly different data than what the charts show, and so I think I had some confusion on why that's happening.
Yeah, I think the search used relies on the missed SLO. My gut feeling is this label is not applied consistently. From the table in SciSense, we have 159 past due bugs, no S1s, only 8 S2s. So that's only 5% of the overall past due. So I think we are in good position. Speaking of past due bugs.
So there was another conversation further down. I included a screenshot there, but there is a pretty good number of overdue bugs. That 159, I think, doesn't include S4s. There's another 100 S4s.
Yes, probably. I didn't check detail of this query, so maybe you can get that feedback to Lily, and also when you are here, whether we want to include that or not, because this is consistent. The dashboard is every group will get the same result.
And as far as the missed SLO assignment, open up an issue in the triage ops project and tag Kyle Weavers, and then he can help with figuring out if that's applied consistently or what fix needs to be made. He'd be a better person to go to than Lily for that one.
Yeah, I think it'd be good to make sure that's fixed, because it's much easier to deal with than the dashboards in SciSense. It's up to date. You can label things, you can click into them. So yeah, I think that's really good to try and get updated. No, John, if you're taking action there, thanks.
Yeah,
I can do it too.
Mm-hmm. Okay. We don't have any infra-dev issues, and we have 7 past due security issues. I have security issues will be reviewed later, so I will share more details later when we get to the security issues item. And Christy, you want to verbalize your comment about the SAS issues?
Yes, maybe I'm looking at that one wrong. Oh, that was severity. Okay, wait, okay, nope. Okay, got it. We're actually down to 1. Sorry. We've had lots of problems with the data being accurate around unseveritized SAS impacting issues. Let me delete this comment because I just was looking in the wrong place. I did see 7 yesterday. There were 9 in the dashboard, but now it looks like we're down to 1 in the dashboard. So maybe we're okay in enablement.
Yeah, this search really returns 7 open issues here. But I guess the question from maybe for Wayne or to the leaders, is this a concern or some guidance? Is there some guidance here?
The dashboard graphs are intended to show the trends, knowing that the most recent data, there's a lag of 1 to 2 days, which is a challenge. To go to the details, Lily added the details because we asked her to, and it was a good idea, but that also lags in the dashboards. Perhaps we remove the lists of things in the dashboards and instead link to an issue search so that people can drill down, because the issue search is going to have the most up-to-date data. And
Yeah,
having it
that is-
in the dashboard doesn't help that much. The list and
Yeah,
the trends
yeah,
help.
I agree that the list isn't as helpful as is. I think what I'm still seeing, Wayne, and what's just really confusing to me is when I look at the issue list versus the dashboard, they're not in sync. So now even when we look at the issue list, it still says there are 7 unseveritized, but when I look at the chart here, it says it's only 1. And then yesterday it was 7 and 9. So I'm like, I don't know what's happening. I'm assuming the issue list is the source of truth. I don't know. I don't want to derail the whole conversation around this. I just keep trying to call this out where I'm seeing the discrepancies. That's all.
Yeah, but overall, enablement is not a very heavy on size. That was a later comment to from Josh. So only the geo and the global search have some front end features there. So we are the rest of the team are very low on the front end. If no more questions around this, we'll move on to the second bullet, is the maintenance from development getting prioritized. Josh?
I asserted yes, because of the level of maintenance. You can see our teams are performing. You could argue maybe we need to have more investment in these teams, but the mix is very high. Christopher, you have a comment on that theme?
Yeah, it was more just like you said, yes, and I was going to like help me out a little bit here to understand. Yeah, so yeah, it's kind of interesting that like some teams are really high and then other teams are not. I wouldn't say really low, but 12.5% feels like, wow, gosh, that's really low. But like to your point, like maybe that's the answer is we're seeing something that maybe is more maintenance-y, is we're kind of categorizing a feature, and that's okay. Like that's like that's part of the exercise here, is to ask questions and kind of understand what's going on.
Yeah, I can validate that. Because I doing the kickoff, we've been working on self-service framework the past like 9 months, and yes, we will be like by virtue of moving things to the self-service framework, we are adding features because this in some cases is more full featured than the previous code. But it's also I think we've removed like 10,000 lines of code. We've consolidated from 15 different ways to replicate data types to one. Like I think it's as much maintenance as it is feature. So I'll double check and make sure that's actually why it's 12.5%. But that's my guess here.
And memory being almost 80%, do we view that as a problem, or do we view that as like to me that's the other one that kind of jumped out.
I think that's primarily their mission. They're trying to find areas of our code base that are inefficient, that are slow, and try to fix them. We will be pivoting them more towards performance, but I think even the performance work will still be largely building the frameworks so teams can better understand their performance, and then also potentially fixing some of these. And so it's going to be not user-facing feature work for primarily much of their output.
Yeah, enablement overall is maintenance heavy, and I think a geo team this release and probably this quarter will be outlier from the normal because the remaining capacity, 50% of the remaining capacity is going to work on a dedicated a geo for dedicated. So that is new feature. That is not a maintenance.
All right, thank you.
Yeah, that's a good point. I'm thinking historical, not forward-looking for this one.
More questions?
One quick voiceover. I worked on distribution. Distribution's been working heavily on FIPS and on operationalization as the 2 main items they've been working to deliver. As those wrap up here, hopefully this milestone, knock on wood, will one of the major next themes is to go work on improving our pipeline efficiencies and other efficiency projects for the overall group. And so that will be ticking up, I would expect, here in the coming months. It's already above 30%, but it would go even higher.
Yeah, the improved efficiency will be maintenance, and then the other major part will be FedRAMP, but still to TBD what that work is. Okay, move on to the bugs prioritized. So Josh, you want to verbalize?
Yeah, I also look at these every week. And we from my search I was using, we only had, I think, 8 or 10 missed SLO bugs. But I think that likely is due to the cause of the label not being applied. Yeah, I think, Sean, you should comment further here.
Yeah. Yeah, Lily just added this table. This is repeated information. So 159 in this table, past due bugs. Tanya, you want to verbalize your point here?
Yeah, so I included a link to the bug dashboard that QE uses to make the suggestions for bugs each milestone. This is specifically scoped to all the enablement groups, so it should be specific just to this section. We are seeing the bug backlog growing and a good number of backlog bugs that are past SLO. Mainly the bug backlog is being driven by S3s and S4s growing. I think we do need a higher proportion of bugs per milestone to make sure that we're preventing the growth at the very least, but also burning down the backlog.
Looks like the past due mismatches the table that Lily prepared in the next review board. So would you mind to sync up with Lily to get the data synced? Because of this S2 past due is 22, but in that table, past due is only 8, I think, as I took a look last night.
Yeah, I'll touch base with Lily. This past due is based purely on the date. I think for S2s, it's default 60 days. So if the bug is older than 60 days, it's counted here. I'm not sure if Lily's is maybe based on when the label is added. There might be some mismatch there. I'll touch base with her and figure out where we're different.
Thank you.
You don't need to investigate this, Tanya, but I just want to ask, do you know if like the number of incoming bugs is in line with what we're thinking, or do you have any feel for that based on what you've done?
Are you asking if we're at least staying on top of the incoming bugs?
No, what I'm asking is like you talked about burn down, and let's like, okay, bugs are coming in. We're sitting enough time to basically fix those bugs. My question is the rate coming in like where about we would expect it to be, right? So
yes, that's very different based on each section and each group. It's pretty reasonable for enablement. I would say it's if we just raise a little bit the number of bugs we're addressing, we're addressing the right number, and the number is pretty low compared to some other sections. Other sections have a much higher open rate than enablement.
I mean, this is more a general question for you and I to kind of work out outside of this conversation, but like conceptually what I'm trying to think about is how to get ahead of the game, right? So like if it turns out that like the group has what you feel like is an incoming rate that's too high, an escape rate that's too high, then we should be working to address that probably first. We should be doing both, right? Ultimately, but like that's one of the questions we may want to start answering too.
Yeah, we do have escape rate, an escape rate chart. Let me find it and scope it to these groups and include a link here.
Yeah, again.
Yeah.
Manage your time effectively. Like this doesn't have to be like this could be 2 milestones from now we start having this conversation, but like conceptually, I think that's where we want to head eventually. Yeah,
and that chart already exists, so that will only take a minute for me to find it and scope it.
Here's the groups I really want to focus on. Like that's the other part of it too, right?
Yeah. Yep.
Okay. Cool.
I think just to comment on here, I agree we need to tackle the S2s. It's a surprise to me, based on my earlier comment. I do try and stay on top of these, and having 22 or whatever the number is open, that's, and beyond due. I think, I agree we need to solve them. I think the one thing on S3, S4, in particular for enablement, we have a huge surface area of our product. And I think I'm not saying we shouldn't try and keep up or burn down. I think we should just want to make sure we approach them intentionally and try and make sure we're fixing them in the areas where we want to keep investing. Because there's like the background object storage, like we want to replace that and things like that. So I think we just want to make sure we keep an eye on that, or maybe we just use this opportunity to just deprecate and officially remove support for things too, and be like, look, we're not going to touch it.
Hey, Josh, we had a conversation about this yesterday, and just so we're consistent in message, one of the things is like we want to look at these charts. Burning down them is not necessarily the absolute requirement here. Like, there are business decisions to be made here that may not make everybody in this room satisfied, and I get that. But like that's the conversations we want to be having associated with it. Now, if the answer is we're gonna have a lot of extra bugs and make the problem even worse, I think that's where you would see definitely escalation. But if it's hold the line for some period of time because of either immediate business needs, then those are considerations that we have to look at.
Cool. Yeah, sounds like we're all aligned, which is great.
And Christopher, I just included a link to the escape rate for enablement specifically. It's popped in the last couple of months, but it seems like it's gone back down in July, although we are only partially done with July. Something to keep an eye on. I'll add this to the ongoing charts that we look at.
Something you look at as well,
Yeah.
just from that aspect. Thanks.
Thank you, Tanya. Let's move on to only 7 minutes remaining, so we need to move faster. So portion issues, the proportion of issues types is changing from milestone to milestone. Answer is not significantly. Any questions? Okay, then the predictability of issues milestone to milestone. So Josh's question is, how do you tell the raw number of issues?
And let me join that. We added graphs on total issues and also the sum of the weight of the issues based on feedback from many, including exactly in line with what Joshua and Sean you're saying. So hopefully that helps.
Yeah, and also hover the mouse cursor over the chart, you will see the total in the tooltip. And my question is actually, I'm not sure what this metric tells us, because there are many variables here that impact the total number of issues from release, because like capacity variation, issue weight, priority shifts during the release. So I have another chart on my board to watch, so you can look at this chart to see how the total issues varies from release to release for enablement. The green bar there. So yeah, just a question. I'm not sure what this metrics tell us and what action items can be taken from this metric.
It always needs to be with the context of the quad, right? Who knows the section and the groups better than those outside? It looks at, is the predictability what you would expect based on everything that you know? I think that's the real question. Or that's a better question, what is written here.
So it's kind of like a sanity check, Chun. Like another way to say it is like, if your issues proportionally say, here's what we're going to go after, and then your MR rate doesn't show that same proportionality, then there's lots of questions there associated with it. As an example, did we overload the team? And because of that, they focused on one particular type of work as an example, right? So like, I think that's what we're looking for, is kind of like that sanity check on, if 100% of all the work that's done, that's said that we're going to get done, gets done, then that's great. But some teams are aspirational. Some teams are executing extremely well. Other teams are struggling, right? All those things kind of are associated with it. So I think those are all things. Another good example is it could be that we're doing a lot of feature work, but behind the scenes, we have to do a ton of maintenance work to even get a feature done. And that would be an example of, well, maybe there's some efficiencies we could go fix, right, associated with it. So it's kind of like that question there, and that's kind of the purpose of it.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah, but this is a chart. So the narrow MR, of course, is lower than the issued numbers because this is only narrow MR. The total MRs are higher. And the green chart, the green bar is the total issues release over release. So you see that it's not predictable for enablement specifically. Okay, let's move on to the next one, the percentage of issues in the next milestone, current milestone. So Josh, you want to verbalize here?
Yeah, I think 20% features is not super surprising to me. We've discussed how maintenance heavy our groups are. And I think as we do better at labeling, I would expect the undefined to have a similar mix as the other labeled items that we already have. So I would expect the trend to largely hold.
Yeah, and I also think overall is expected because we are maintenance heavy in general. And also my suggestion for this question is to look back, not forward, because the next milestone usually at this time is not fully planned yet. So it's premature to look next. But looking back like X numbers of milestones, that will be a better, better to tell the trend.
All right. Should we move to number 7?
Yeah.
I think for me, I'll voice for my comments. They're mostly GeoSearch as the teams who largely have the only bits of user like UI facing the surface area. I wouldn't call searches backlog healthy. We've been working on, like, I know it comes up in sus scores, and I know there's a lot of work to do there. But what I would say is that we've been working on a lot of maintenance to keep the lights on, and historically, and the team's been very small, and we are growing the team second half of this year. So hopefully we can get some more throughput and be able to drive some of these improvements more rapidly.
Yeah. Questions or comments from either Christy or Marcel?
No, I agree. Global search is definitely the area here in enablement where we have the highest number of high severity sus impacting issues. And it's also, when comparing to other groups in other departments, quite a high number to have 6 severity 2 issues. So if we could burn this down quicker, that would really be very much appreciated and would have a big impact.
Thank you.
That'll make sense to me. Thank you, Josh and Marcel.
Thank you. And then the security backlog. I think it's probably again the missed SL label was not applied consistently. I looked at our past due security backlog. So we have 7 past due, and overall we have a total of 14 S1, 2, 3 security issues. So 7 of them are past due. We are actively working on two of them, and then 1 is blocked, and 1 2 just became past due this week, and the rest 2 were delayed due to the priority shift during this release to FIPS.
So maybe Kyle, I don't know who maintains the automation that applies the label, but maybe I don't know. Tanya, would Kyle be the best to look into that, perhaps? Or
Yeah, that's what we mentioned earlier. If there's an issue in the triage ops project, ping Kyle, that would be the best way to get this looked at.
Yeah, I think in particular this is really critical, because I think as far as I know, all the teams use that label to determine it, like in their planning cycles and their boards. I think that's what they use. Yeah, I think we should get this fixed pronto here, in particular for security. We have SLAs and contracts and things like that.
So I know we're out of time. I'll ping Kyle. I know we're out of time. I think there's more good questions to continue discussing. Perhaps do a follow-up, John, to continue the discussion.
How about async? It's very hard to get all these people together. How about async? We can answer in this doc. It's just very difficult to get all these people together.
How about async unless something comes up and then we realize via async that sync on some topics might be needed, but only as necessary. How does that sound?
Yeah, that works. Unless we cannot, fully address that asynchronously, we can schedule another session.
Is the rest of the group good with that too? All right. Christy and I have our 3rd in a row. Now we're on to Sam Goldstein's team, and we're late. So good stuff. Thanks, everyone. Thanks for organizing, Sean. Cheers.
Thank you.